the JFK files. I want to kind of lead in with what you both thought about them, to start with, because there's a kind of a lot to discuss. And I wanted to get the overview. I'll go to Styx first and then Hannah Claire. What do you make of them so far? Now there's supposed to be more today, I think. But what do you make of them so far?
Mostly it's just stuff that was already there, but it's been more unredacted. So much of it is kind of much ado about nothing. But there was one really, really interesting page that actually somebody sent to me. And it involved Joe Biden. And apparently JFK Jr., by which I mean probably that's a typo, and it was RFK Jr. saying this, calling Joe Biden a traitor. Yeah. And I laughed at that so hard. Overall, I still think that there was an involvement of foreign elements and LBJ in the killing. And some people liberal commentators are coming out and saying, look, you're all conspiracy theorists because the CIA determined that Lee Harvey Oswald was a singular shooter. Well, what if the CIA was in on it?
Yeah. There were some nuggets.
And said, we're good to go. It was that guy.
Yeah. What do you make of it, Hannah Claire?
I wasn't blown away by the fact that there wasn't a huge they did it. I think for some people who've been following this and have gone down the rabbit holes and have read a lot about this, it was sort of like confirmation, like that agent who went in and said that the CIA is involved, and then not that long later he was found dead. Yeah. There are certain things
which was ruled self-inflicted,
right?
With a wound to his left ear, and he's right-handed, so this is how he had to do it.
He was committed, I guess.
Yeah. I
mean, that's the thing. Like some of the sketchy stuff, you are getting confirmation. But I think I said this to you yesterday. Like the CIA is like these documents get out and nothing changes. Like it's not like we go back in time and save JFK or whatever else. And it does underline maybe a general belief that there is entrenched corruption in this agency, but I think the narrative around JFK's assassination changed generationally. I mean, if you were alive at the time, I think very few people questioned when the probably because it was a national tragedy, right? That the CIA was like, Lee Harvey Oswald did it, and they were like, that guy did it. Okay, let's rally around. LBJ's in, but I don't think it's that weird for people from our generations to be like, no, it seems like that was sketchy. And more than anything, it confirms something they already believed. It doesn't change the minds of, people who grew up in that era thinking that this was this random gunman. Again, it's like a win, but also not groundbreaking.
And Lee Harvey Oswald literally called himself a patsy. Then he gets shot by Rubin. Then RFK Jr. dies. Meanwhile, Marilyn Monroe is being killed. She fucked both of them. At what point do we say there might be some connection between these particular things?
There's a little bit of a cleanup happening. Some of the biggest, again, there was, if you were hardcore into the JFK assassination, you learned nothing new last night. However, the normies learned a lot. And I think that, is kind of I know there are no moral victories, but that's as close to a moral victory as we're going to get. There were several kind of bombshells that came out. First of all, and I know this is going to be a hot button issue, but it's just the truth. The only redaction that the CIA asked for were connections to the Israeli intelligence. Yeah, I mean, that was the only redactions. Multiple pages of the JFK files found with CIA requesting any mentions of Israel to be redacted. And you can see this, these documents that say CIA has no objection to declassification release of CIA information except for what's in brackets. Well, let's look at what's in brackets. Israeli intelligence. Not a good look. There's also connections to the USSR. People forget what was going on around this time. You had kind of the Bay of Pigs. You had Cold War era. You had all this stuff where he had reportedly met with Russian agents. What were they called? In charge of wet crimes or something like that.
Wet works,
yeah, which is assassinations. And there is a theory now that is more prominent that the Soviets did in fact orchestrate this assassination of JFK, but LBJ was afraid of World War III. And so they set up the patsy. There's a lot of...
That's my exact theory. And they literally list that as a conspiracy theory on the Rational Wiki article about me.
Oh, really? That LBJ knew that the USSR did it, and he just said,
I think the LBJ helped orchestrate it. I think after the Cuban Missile Crisis, people were like, it's literally a Dr. Strangelove plot. It's like, no, we don't actually want a nuclear war, but we came within inches of it, and a lower sub commander was the one that stopped it. You need to take care of this dude. And so LBJ said, oh, well, I'd love to be president of the United States. He waxes JFK to cover it up. He waxes Marilyn Monroe and RFK because they knew it was...
And Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, and then wax Lee Harvey Oswald because the mafia might have been involved as well.
Yeah, there is...
But that means that there are a lot of people that were willing to work with LBJ on it, right? Like, I just guess I never realized how influential he was at that time to be able to have people agree to do that.
Supposedly, there was one time when he pulled down his pants, took out his member, shook it at several people, and said, "This is why I'm in charge." So we can see the egotism.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that believe Bush Sr. had, a connection to it. Other interesting thoughts. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but inside the files, noted when you say Crowder debunked this. So because I read the chat, I just want to let you know I read you. So if you just simply write wrong or this is debunked, if you want me to pay attention to, you have to then add to that. And just spurging out wrong or this has been debunked doesn't actually do anything. So I want to read you if you're writing that, but you have to say what has been debunked and by whom and why it's been debunked. Then I'll read you.
There are rules in polite society. Come on, people.
Yeah. If you want me to read the free chat, then you've got to put more work into if you need to put more work into your messages. I'm not saying any of this stuff is true. Crowder debunked the redactions. Oh, he debunked the Israeli redactions. If there's a clip, I would love to know how they were. You see it stamped right here, and you see the Israeli intelligence agency in brackets. So I don't know how it's been debunked, but I will watch that video if it has been debunked. I'm not stating anything as fact. I'm stating what was in the files. And these files...
when you look at the contemporary USS Liberty incident...
Right. Yeah, that was a thing too. In my opinion, this was orchestrated by the CIA, but involved other government intelligence agencies as well. That's what I believe happened. I believe that they did work with the USSR. I believe they did work in some way with Cuba to, there was there was this story, which this article came out in the 60s, but most people were unaware of it. The guy that basically showed up and said, "Hey, the CIA did it. I'm afraid for my life." What was that guy? We touched on him earlier. What was that guy's name? Where is this?
Was it Jack Ruby that said that?
No, Jack Ruby is no. That's the guy that killed.
He's the one that killed Oswald.
Oswald, yeah. We also know that there was a call to the FBI an hour before Jack Ruby just got unfettered access to where Lee Harvey Oswald was being held. And the FBI knew that there was going to be an attempt on Lee Harvey Oswald's life and did nothing. Probably because they planned it, in my opinion. I don't think saying that the United States worked with Israel and the USSR or whatever, maybe Israel supplied the weapons. I'm not JQing, so relax. I'm just saying I mean, explain that that's the only thing they're saying that needed to get redacted. Now, I don't think that it was the only thing being redacted because we've seen pages that were redacted. So I don't know, for me, I would say his real name, Jack Rubenstein. Is that what you want?
By the way, we're talking about the JFK files and the assassination of him. Do we still have any closure on the attempted Trump assassination?
That's
no.
Yeah. Here's one thing I forgot. That I wanted to mention. I thought it notable that in both the FBI files on Lee Harvey Oswald, I'll put it this way. In the files on Lee Harvey Oswald, they went out of their way to note that he was in fact a bad shot. Is there anybody else that we know that the FBI has put out stories that was also a bad shot?
Didn't make their high school rifle team, you mean?
That was kicked off their high school rifle team? Yeah. What could it have been the exact same thing that was said about Thomas Matthew Crooks, who also was involved? I'm just saying that is certainly a galactic level reach. I just think that was curious. And like, for anyone saying I'm wrong, by the way, I'm not making any assertions other than I believe that the CIA orchestrated the death of John F. Kennedy Jr. That's my opinion. I'm not saying I have irrefutable evidence. I'm just saying that's what I think. I think that there were
all of them and more. Have you ever tried the JFK assassination simulation game? To my knowledge, not a single human being has ever been able to make that shot.
And what about the fact that a single bullet had six, damaged 6 parts or had 6 wounds and didn't even fragment? Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of stuff that leads. We could go all the way down the second shooter thing. We could go. Styx and I have gone down the road of the guy that jumps off the back of the car to make sure there's a clear shot. Mm-hmm. Who's supposed to be riding on the back of the vehicle?
Yeah, on the little railings on the fins.
Yeah, the whole reason they're there.
Never been able to physically make the shot, but he got waved off. I mean, I watched the video back in 2007, and I was like, this was not taught in my history book. I wonder if there's a reason for that.
Yeah, he was supposed to defend. He was supposed to be there, and they said, no, chill. Make sure we got a clear shot. That's what I think happened. I'm not saying that's what happened. Right. Yeah.
Do you think that for people who, hate conspiracy theorists or people who question narrative or whatever, the release of the JFK files is a way of saying Trump is pacifying crazy people in our society? Like, how is this spun for people who just want to put their head in the sand?
Maybe. That actually makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Because it seems like, I know why the Trump administration would want to do this, and I know why people who not necessarily are super MAGA, but generally preferred Trump over Biden or Kamala or whatever the Democrats were presenting would be for this. But it seems like the CIA... It seems like if there is internal corruption, they would have to agree to this, assuming that they can get ahead of it somehow or get something out of it. Unless Trump is really just able to clean house over the last couple of weeks and be like, no, this has to come out no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now there's more to come out supposedly today. I would say, how do I put this? I hate doing like the conspiracy thing, but trickle releasing the JFK files right now is awfully convenient. There's a lot going on right now between Israel and Palestine or Gaza Strip, and there's a lot of look over here, don't look over here. But the reason I generally don't say that is because you could literally say that about everything. Mm-hmm. Like, there's literally always something to distract people from,
right?
Or
is it pacifying people who wanted the Epstein files? Like,
Yeah,
We
I
didn't
think
get
that's
those,
part of
but
it.
Here, go through these for a couple
Yeah,
weeks
we're
while
not
we buy
getting
ourselves more time. Not that they shouldn't have released them. I'm curious to see where this fits into an overall strategy, because it's hard to believe they just randomly pick now to release them.
Yeah, we're not getting the Epstein files anytime soon in unredacted form. Also, have you both watched the Zapruder film? Because I
Yes.
noticed something about it.
Yeah, do you want to share the link?
Well, it's you just look up Zapruder film and yeah, I'll share the link here really quick.
Yeah, I'll find
But
it. Go ahead.
I noticed something in the frame where JFK gets brained. It looks like it's completely vertical, a straight line. How could Lee Harvey Oswald have accomplished this firing from very much above the automobile?
Yeah, it would be. Here's the Zapruder film. This is the one that.
Oh, you've got
Yeah. Yeah, this is it's restored in HD. There's a couple of things you can see here. Let's see if we can see the guy get waved off.
That's not in the Zapruder film. I'll find that.
Oh, okay.
It's called Secret
Oh, it's
Service.
too late there. There it is. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like the shot is coming pretty straight on. By the way, incredible shot. You can even see the mist in this one. Right, he's looking down. There it is. Yeah. So I don't know, and I don't know what she's trying to do.
She's trying to grab a chunk of his skull that fell off.
Yeah,
Here, I'm gonna link you in chat here. That's the
All right,
Secret
got it.
Service stand down video. I think we played
Yeah.
it before.
Everything seemed normal as the
Oh, here's
president
the
of Secret
stand down,
Service
yep.
bodyguard
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
ever watchful eyes on the crowd.
I'm actually gonna turn off the audio because it's kind of disorientating. But here we'll see. Here's the Secret Service guy right there, waving. Here he is running next to the car. He's like, "Hey, what's going on here?" He's like running up there.
Mhm.
I think this is the guy, right? Oh, here he is. Yeah, they told him, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Watch him wait, put his hands out. He's like, "Aren't I supposed to be up here?" And this guy tells him, "No, no, no." He's like, "What's going on? Shouldn't we have someone up here?" He gets waved off, and then that leaves him open for the shot.
If he had been on that fin, then the shot would have been impossible if it were Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, it would have hit the guy. It would have hit the Secret Service agent if he was on that fin. Yep. So that is, sometimes they have like the Swiss cheese theory of how planes crash. Like it's not just like one thing happened. It's a bunch of cascading failures that lead to it.
Sure.
If you believe, if you believe it, if you believe in that, then this would be part of that. But he clearly gets waved off there. Just like the Secret Service on Trump's hit, by the way.
Yeah.
We weren't on the roof because it was too slopey. Yeah,
We might fall off.
Yeah. And then I forgot my key card. And I guess I'll just leave. So there's a lot that went wrong to make this happen. When you have that many things go wrong, it's hard to think it wasn't perfectly planned. Again, I can't prove it. And what we've seen put it this way, folks, there is not if LBJ was behind it, which I do believe, he destroyed whatever evidence that would ever connect him to it 75 years ago.